started. Good morning, everybody. My name is John Palmer. I am the Services Director here with Volunteer Florida, and today we are going to go over the Rural Community Assets Fund for the upcoming 2025-2026 grant year. Um, just to confirm, does everybody see the PowerPoint slideshow? It should say Rural Community Assets Fund at the top. I see some thumbs up. That's good. All right. All right, we'll go ahead and dive right in. All right, so before we get started, as I mentioned earlier, please feel free to mute your microphones. Cameras aren't required for this meeting either. If you do have any questions at any time, feel free to use the chat option, but we will have question breaks throughout this presentation. Recording and slides of today's presentation will also be available a little early on this afternoon on our website. The link is down below. With that in mind, we'll go ahead and jump right in. So before we dive into RCAF, let's talk a little bit today about Volunteer Florida and the foundation. So the Volunteer Florida Foundation raises funds to support Volunteer Florida, the state's lead agency for volunteerism and national service. The foundation assists in the administration of high-impact national service programs and the promotion of volunteerism throughout the state, and also manages the Florida Disaster Fund, Florida's private fund established to help communities with disaster recovery. The foundation is also responsible for the governor's special initiatives, including Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, and Native American Heritage Month celebrations, as well as awarding honors to honor Florida's most outstanding volunteers. Of course, you guys are always welcome to check out more information on our main website at volunteerflorida.org. I would definitely encourage you to check out that site. Um, uh, as well for our lead hub portal called Volunteer Connect, where you're more than welcome to post any opportunities your organization has as well. All right, with that in mind, we'll go ahead and dive right in. So let's talk about RCAF. So RCAF, the Rural Community Assets Fund. The purpose of RCAF is to help strengthen the power and capacity of community organizations to further the missions by recruiting, equipping, and mobilizing volunteers who serve Floridians in rural communities. Let's talk about the grant overview. So we have several key pieces here. So number one, the distribution of a collective total of $150,000 contingent upon availability of funding. Two, provides organizational and training support for grantees participating in the 2026 grant year. Three, you may request anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000. Four, grantee organizations must provide a 100% cash or in-kind match or in combination to be verified during the contract period. Number five, and what this will look like is 50% of approved grant requests distributed at the beginning of the grant cycle, which we'll look at that timeline here in a little bit today. And 50% will be at the mid-cycle, the other 50%, I should say. Supporting documentation will be required and will be verified before the release of further funding, and grantees will receive and are expected to participate in Volunteer Florida Foundation provided or approved comprehensive training and ongoing program and financial coaching calls. So let's talk about the eligibility. So basically your role in this. So in order to qualify for RCAF for 2026, you'll need to meet the following criteria. So first, the applicant must be a public or private 501c3 nonprofit organization, which includes faith-based and other community organizations, institutions of higher education, government entities, states, cities, counties, school systems, etc., or Indian tribes. Also, a project fiscal agent must be an established IRS 501c3 tax exempt organization that agrees to accept donations on behalf of a group that does not have IRS exemption. For any of those clarifications, and I'll provide the email a couple times throughout this presentation, you can reach out to rcafvolunteerflorida.org if you have any questions regarding that. Also, you need to be a Florida-based organization. So if you're from Minnesota, I apologize, you won't qualify for this. Number three, you must establish or have a service location in or volunteers deployed to an eligible rural area, which is listed in our NOFA. RCAF funds may only be used to support individuals residing in eligible rural areas. Proposed budget line items relevant to volunteer engagement completed outside of the rural area may be included if they directly contribute to the achievement of grant performance measures in an eligible rural area chosen by the grantee. And number six, geographic locations eligible must be part of the designated rural areas of opportunity. An RAO is authorized by the governor and outlined in FS 288-0656. There will be a quiz at the end of this. Just kidding. But you can find that information located in the NOFA, section 4, page 3. So the fatal criteria, these are some of the hard lines that we have for the application themselves. We'll run through these really quick, and some of these we've just gone over. But the application submission will be through Blackbaud. We'll look into that here in a moment as well. But the due date will be by August 14th, 2025 by 5 p.m. Eastern Time. The applicant is a Florida-based organization, operates in eligible rural communities defined. Again, public or private 501c3 nonprofit organization. IRS tax exemption status, as we spoke about earlier, mobilizes or will mobilize volunteers to meet the mission of the organization. Includes a selection of relevant performance measures, which we'll look at here in a moment. Allowable grants between $10,000 to $15,000. 100% match with the requested grant amount established. One of the key things that I will say that we're looking for as well is going to be your organization's mission statement. So make sure that that is listed. So we put the RCAF one here, for example, as well, just as a frame of reference. So when you're filling out your information, please put your organization's mission. Performance measures. So there's three key areas that we're looking at for RCAF. So first one, our program capacity A. Grantees will increase in one area, then either the number of individuals served, the types of services offered to individuals, or the number of services provided per individual. Number two, program capacity B. Increase in volunteers recruited and or retained. And number three, strengthen organizational volunteer management practices. The entities will select one additional function along with strategic planning to maximize volunteer impact from the remaining 7 listed in the NOFA, which we're actually going to look at here in the next slide. But in the NOFA, if you have that pulled up on your screen, that is section 6, page 5. And those different areas are included here. We've pulled them from the Volunteering Reinvented Human Capital Solutions for the Nonprofit Sector. If you have an opportunity to read through this article, I would highly encourage it. It's full of really good information, details, perspective. The only thing I will say is that some of the numbers are out of date. For example, it mentions that the cost of volunteers are listed at $18 an hour. We're actually looking more at $33 an hour now. But outside those number adjustments, the purpose and intention of the article is still really sound. And we pull from these 8 areas. So you were asked to select one additional one along with number 2. So it'll either be number 1, market research and community needs assessment. Number 3, recruiting and marketing to prospective volunteers. Number 4, interviewing, screening, and the selection of volunteers. 5, orientating and training volunteers. 6, ongoing supervision and management. 7, recognition and volunteer development. And or number 8, measuring outcomes and evaluating the process. Again, number 2 is going to be one of the 2 areas that you're going to be working on. So you will have the ability to choose one of the other 7. You'll see the slide a couple more times throughout, but it's important that you follow all of the NOFA instructions exactly. And to ensure that this funding process is carried out in a fair and equitable manner, all questions concerning the application must be submitted to rcaf@volunteerflorida.org. We're going to jump into some questions here in a quick second. Before we do, I will say, if you email me, for example, any questions pertaining to your RCAF application questions, I will respond by asking you to send that email to RCAF. We definitely want to make sure that all the questions are carried out fairly as possible. So yeah, with that in mind, we're gonna take a quick questions break. Do we have any questions so far? Yeah, we're gonna be jumping into the budget information here in a quick moment.
So when you say that this is Kathy Campbell, say Families for Children, you
Yeah.
say a presence in the community. One reason we are looking at this grant is because we have volunteers in the community but can't support in rural communities, but can't support them well because the staff reach isn't quite there. So would that count as a presence in the community already? The fact that we have volunteers with the rural community's address? Just trying to make sure I fully understand that requirement.
Yeah, it's a great question. As far as uh, it sounds like what I'm hearing the question is, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you asking since your volunteers serve a rural area, would that count? Is that correct?
No, we don't really have a location. I mean, we're unique in that way. So we don't
Sure.
have a building where volunteers serve.
Mhm.
We serve, obviously, we serve families
Mhm.
and they can do it from wherever they live. And so we'd like to increase our number of volunteers in rural communities. So I know, for example, in Taylor County, I believe I have 2 volunteers. I would love to strengthen that and recruit more to work alongside of them so we could help more families. So
Yeah.
we don't have a physical presence in Taylor County, but we do have volunteers who physically live in Taylor County. So would that, I wasn't super clear. It sounded like we have to have some kind of established presence in the rural community that we're seeking to serve. And I just want to make sure that that would be adequate. Our physical location is in Tallahassee.
Yeah, since your volunteers are going to be serving in those rural communities, you should be good to go. Feel free to reach out to that RCAF email with more of a specific breakdown. It sounds like you have different areas within your organization, so we want to make sure that we adequately are making sure that it's applied to those rural areas. So, for example, I believe Leon County and Tallahassee would not qualify. However, for your folks who are in those eligible areas and communities, um, uh, Taylor would. So yeah, but again, yeah, email those specific areas to that RCAF email, and then we'll see how we could best work with you on that with your in terms of your application. All right, we have any other questions? Oh, thanks by the way for that, Kathy. It's a great question. Do we have any other questions before we jump into our budget section?
Yes, I have a question. My name is Leroy Green with DSR Public Health Foundation. My question for the 100% match, is that cash only or can that be in kind?
It can be in either cash or in kind. So it can be either. We'll talk some more about it in the budget section. It will still have to be in those same budget categories, but it can be by cash or in kind.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions before we jump in? We have let's see, Lisa Wright has, how can we determine if the area we want to serve qualifies as rural? That's a fantastic question, Lisa. And just in case if my voice cut out there, the question is how can we determine if the area we want to serve qualifies as rural? We do have a specific list. The RAOs are listed in your NOFA. Um, Page 3. So feel free to check that out if your either your area, the area that you serve fits within those counties or areas, then you qualify. Thank you for that question, Lisa. All right. Anybody else before we jump into the budgets? All right, I'm going to hand it over to Tracy, our Deputy Director of Finance.
All right, good morning. Let's get into the budget for you today. So some budget specifics, costs that include personnel fringe benefits, food, or travel are not eligible budget expenses for this grant. You must also use the RCAF budget template that was provided. So you'll provide your budget on that template and submit that with your application. We ask that you do not attempt to add any additional tabs or make any additional changes to that budget template. And we want you to only enter information within those allowable budget categories in that template. Again, all budget expenses must support the capacity building activities to develop or strengthen your volunteer programs, and they must directly contribute to the achievement and grant performance measures in the eligible rural area you have chosen. Also, not allowable are any miscellaneous costs or fillers. So as we'll go through the budget, you'll notice that all costs must be itemized and spelled out, and be included in your budget template in an equation format. And I have a sample we'll show you in a few slides ahead of here. The allowable budget categories are as follows: training, digital media resources, volunteer and promotional resources, and vetting resources. And just to give you some examples of what those are in each of those budget categories, training we'll start with. So training is going to be funds that you can use towards purchasing memberships, subscription services, materials, or other training opportunities. Again, anything that specifically strengthens your organization's capacity and ability to engage your volunteers. Staff training, training of those volunteers, and support for that. Digital media resources, funds on this section would be promoting your program. Again, they must also be aligned with your grant's purpose and performance measures. Volunteer and promotional resources, funds can be used for materials, again, to support branding for your volunteer engagement efforts. Items must be clearly justified as beneficial for your volunteers and the volunteer engagement. So some things to include in that, and this is not going to be an all exhaustive list, just a few things, tabling, materials, banners, tablecloths, things that you would primarily use to recruit volunteers. I know that we've seen people, provide t-shirts. So when their volunteers are serving, they've got, gear they could wear, name tags that would be something that they would use repeatedly during their volunteer services. Again, materials that you would need during the time of your engagement of your volunteer activities, school supplies, materials, training manuals, etc. Again, if you ever have a question of whether something is an allowable expense in one of these categories, you can reach out to that rcaf@volunteerflorida.org email address, or just contact us directly. Or we will contact you directly when we're reviewing those budgets. And then last but not least, the vetting resources. This has to do with your criminal background history checks. So any costs that you would have incurred in running these background checks for your volunteers would go in the vetting resources section. Again, noting to include 100% match. So what that means is if you're going to request a $10,000 grant, then you'll be required to also provide $10,000 in match, or what we say cash or in-kind funding, for a total grant of $20,000. And we'll show you that in the next few slides here again in this budget example. All right, so this next slide, again, here is the, just one section of that budget template we talked about with some sample costs. So as you can see, you've got training, you've got each individual cost listed. So we look at line one: outside trainers, volunteer recruitment and retraining for retention for staff. They're going to hire 2 trainers. When I talked about equation format, this is why the template is set up this way, to show us your equation. So that means you're going to pay $500 per trainer. You're going to get 2 trainers. So if you look in that total column, that's $1,000. And then you can see in the budget, the RCAF share is going to be the funding that you're going to actually receive from us. The grantee share is what we call the match share. So that portion would be the share that your organization would use to match it. So in this example, that $1,000 total for those 2 outside trainers, you're going to receive $600 from us for it, and your organization is going to provide the remaining $400 to pay for that total cost. Again, this just gives you some other samples: volunteer handbook, volunteer management workbook, and the costs, and how everything is itemized. And then certifications. They're going to provide 2 separate certifications at $400 each. This, the arrows, I wanted to explain those. It shows you that those green arrows are gonna show you the direction of the formula. So the budget templates are built in Excel and they have formulas built in for you. So whatever you enter in each of the columns is gonna automatically calculate for you at the bottom in your totals. Anything in the white areas is where you're gonna enter your information, and your, I guess your split or your share. This is just the second part of the form, showing the last two sections again. Showing you under say 3, volunteer and promotional resources, branded t-shirts for volunteers, $15 each at 20 t-shirts equals a total of $300. And in this case, the organization's gonna purchase those and provide it as match. So they, in this example, the $300 will be coming from your organization. Look at line 2, freestanding banner. So that's a tablecloth, for those volunteer recruitments. 2 tablecloths at $350. And in this instance, the RCAF funding would pay for that in full at the $700. So I just wanted to show you what we meant by itemizing and then how to show that equation in equation format and then what those splits were. Again, at the bottom of that form where the arrows are pointing, those formulas are going to automatically calculate for you. So don't make any changes in those. They should automatically calculate once you enter in the above sections. This is the sample template that you guys should see, and you should have that to be filled out and completed and submitted with your application package. I want to make sure that you see that in the top, the applicant, lead agency, the name, the sample EIN, and the project name, those need to be filled out. And then in that top left there, left corner, number 1, you want to round all of your calculations to the nearest dollar. And if there's something that you're not going to use, say you're not going to put any costs in digital media resources, you just want to enter a 0 in that for us. Also, the notes section is an optional section. However, that helps when we're reviewing your budget to understand what it is and what that cost is and how it applies. So you can leave those notes for us and helping us determine the allowability of each of those costs. All right. I know that was a quick overview for you guys. At this time, I'm going to take a break for any questions that you have, if you'll get those in the chat for me. All right. It doesn't look like we have any questions at this time. I'm going to turn it back over to John.
And of course, if you do have any questions, I know there was a lot of information to process for sure. If you do have any questions, feel free at any time to reach out to that RCAF at volunteerflorida.org. Again, that we'll have that email address pop up here in a couple more minutes. Well, with that in mind, let's go ahead and look at the road ahead, the anticipated timeline. So we'll go ahead and just dive right in. The applications again are going to be due to the to Volunteer Florida Thursday, to Volunteer Florida through Blackbaud by Thursday, August 14th, 2025, no later than 5:00 p.m. Eastern time. From there, the application review and scoring will be between Friday, August 15th through Friday, August 29th. Clarification provided to the applicants will be on Tuesday, September 2nd. Final application budgets with clarification changes to Volunteer Florida will be due by Friday, September 12th. Oh, apologize about that. What we do Friday, September 12th. Contracts provided to the successful applicants will be sent out Monday, September 22nd, and the letters to applicants not receiving funding will also go out on the 22nd as well. From there, those who are chosen the training for the RCAF 2026 grantees will be on Monday, September 29th, 2025. We're still finalizing the exact time, but that information will be sent out well in advance. Into the first round of distribution, of course, contingent on Volunteer Florida receiving all required contract documents. would be on Wednesday, October 1st. And just to have on the on your radar, these are gonna be some of the areas that we will always be looking out for throughout the RCAF cohort process for 2026. So when we're talking about reporting, we're always be looking for performance measures, number of hours number of hours volunteers served, and other volunteer project demographics information. All require documentation for grant dollar use and volunteer management practices. We're gonna be doing regular check-ins throughout the cohort, throughout the year. I know on the program side, I will be meeting with your organization monthly. We're gonna try to also have our finance team meet with you all every 3 months as well. But of course, if you have any questions along the way, you're always more than welcome to reach out to us. I'll be happy to help. But just so you know, those will be the 5 key areas that we're going to be checking in on regularly. Also, background check information. By the end, and Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, but by the end of the cohort, they do need to present information regarding the background check from our partnering organizations. Correct?
Yes, that background check information will be due at the end of the grant. It's something that you should be doing throughout as you, vet those volunteers. So it'll be due at the end.
Perfect. All right. Last thing I want to go over before we take. Oh, looks like we have a quick question. Keith, let's see. The grant is for 50/50. Matt, oh, go ahead. Oh, this is Tracy question.
All right, so the grant is for a 50/50 match, correct? And the samples budget, 11,435. The amount awarded by RCAF is 5,700. So yeah, you're looking at, yes, so 57 and 57 would be that 11,400. So it'd be just around, be a little bit more than that, but yes. So the idea is that 100% match. If you ask for $10,000, you have to match $10,000. All right, let's see, we have a few more questions. Let's go back to that.
That one.
Would dedicated Google Ads advertising qualify as in kind? Yes, if Google is giving, if Google is allowing you, the in kind for advertising, then yes, you could include that in the digital media resources section as in kind and the match share only. We have office, training, or workspace donated. Can we use that as costs in multiple areas of the spreadsheet? So no, you would only be able to use, so if it's donated, of course, that's going to be called an in-kind cost, grantee share only. And that would only be able to be included in the training section for the portion of the space that you're using for training. It would not fit with digital media resources or promotional resources or vetting resources. So if you're using space that's being donated for you to provide training to the volunteers, or where the volunteers are serving, then yes, you could use it in that section, grantee share only.
Who's the best person in your organization that should attend your training? That's a fantastic question, Elizabeth. Honestly, I'm in a belief of the more the merrier. If you have an individual in your organization who oversees volunteerism, that person I would definitely highly encourage to attend, along with any key financial folks. If you have a CFO, for example, director of finance, anybody in that field would also be welcomed. But anybody who this would in your organization that the funding would impact, I would also encourage them to join. That way they know what's going on every step of the way for that training.
Yep. And I'm going to add that anybody that's going to be tasked with completing these program reporting and invoices and providing the supporting documentation would need to be included in these trainings as well.
I think we covered Keith's question.
Yep.
Perfect. And the program is all virtual. Is that a disqualifier? That is a fantastic question, John. Let me look into that to confirm. If you could, please, could you email that question to rcap@volunteerflorida.org,
With specifics.
with specifics, and kind of give a general, overview of the program. Um, and that way we give you a more accurate answer. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll move ahead. So the final thing I want to review with you guys today is accessing Blackbaud to submit your application if you have not already. So the application is live. And there are two places that you could access it. So first, you're more than welcome to access it directly from our NOFA. And I'm going to send this along in the, this will be posted on the website along with the recording for the slideshow. So just in case if anybody's having any issues seeing these images on your screen, you'll be able to access it separately here in a few minutes. So in the NOFA page, it looks like page 10 of 13. Feel free to click on the links, this application link. That'll take you directly to the application itself. One thing I would suggest as well is if you have to step away before you submit your application, on page 11 at the very top there is a follow-up link that you could follow. That'll get you directly to the application itself that you've worked on. If you click on that first link, it'll send you to a new application. There is a way to navigate through to find your original application, but just to really streamline it for you guys, I would just advise clicking on that second link if you need to come back. So that's one way you could access the application, again, through the NOFA. The other way you could do that is from our website directly. So you go to volunteerflorida.org. I would strongly advise using Google Chrome as the browser. From here in the top, you will select Grant Opportunities. Click on RCAF, the Rural Community Assets Fund. And then in the center of the page, in the application submission section, second line from the bottom, there is a green link that says here. That'll be the link for Blackbaud itself as well. So you click on that, and it'll take you to a new page, which will look like this. It'll just take you to a login page. Now, if your organization has a Blackbaud account already, you'll just sign in, and then from there, it'll pre-populate the application. If you're new to Blackbaud, welcome aboard. But you're more than welcome to create an account at the bottom right there. From there, it'll take you to this page. You'll select Start New Application. And if you're a new organization, or excuse me, if you're new to Blackbaud, it'll have you select your organization. I believe returning folks will not have to follow through on this page, but if it does, you just type in your organization's name, select it, and then it'll pull up this next page here. This will be the eligibility quiz. Now, organizations do need to meet all these criteria. We've gone over these a couple of times today, but just to verify for you all that you're a Florida-based organization, that you're an appropriate nonprofit organization that fits the criterion. You use or will use volunteers for the mission of your organization. You're IRS tax exempt, and that your organization serves an RAO community. Once you fill those out, if you qualify, you'll get this notification. It'll say eligibility passed. Click on continue to continue to application, and it'll take you to this next page here. From here, you'll have to fill out these different areas here. You have cover sheet, project demographics, application narrative, performance measures, budget, and submission. Be sure to fill out all the appropriate boxes with the red indicator. Also, while you're filling out each page, make sure you scroll to the bottom to ensure that you hit all of the boxes. Once you've done that, you'll come to the submissions page, and you'll notice one of two things. First, if all of your boxes are filled out correctly, in the section that says cover sheet, project demographics, etc., they will all be blank. There will be no indicator here. If you're missing an item, you'll see a red exclamation mark. That means there's something that needs to be accomplished still. So you're more than welcome to navigate back to that page to fill out that box. Once you're good to go,
Yes, this is John Romano, Disaster Central. Question is, our corporation is domiciled in the state of Florida.
Mhm.
We are a national organization, and but we do maintain an address out of state. What qualifies the organization as being in Florida?
That's a fantastic question. So, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're a nationally based organization that does have a Florida location, but it's not currently active. Am I correct?
It's where we receive service process of services in Florida.
Okay, and those services, do they serve rural communities in Florida?
Serves all over. I mean, all over the state, all over the nation.
Okay. Um, what I would advise, send your organization's information to rcaf@volunteerflorida.org. I'm 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 kind of inclined to lean towards potentially no, only because we're looking at Florida-based organizations. Um, However, I definitely want to look into this more fully in detail for you. I don't want to just give you a hard no now and miss something. So, email, if you could please send that information to that RCAF email, and we'll take a look at it promptly for you.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Question: is this recording going to be available? Yes, this recording will be available on our website later this afternoon, along with information regarding accessing Blackbaud. Will you be sharing the PowerPoint presentation with us? Yes, we will also be sharing this PowerPoint as well. All right. Do we have any final questions for this morning?
So the question is, the sample budget awarded 5,700, does RCAF share need to be in 10,000 as a minimum? No. So if you're requesting 5,700, then the RCAF or the, wait, I said that wrong. Sample budget awarded 5,700 from RCAF. Does the RCAF share need to be a minimum as 10,000 as a minimum? So yeah, this year we're doing 10,000. Your grant request should be 10,000, between 10,000 and 15,000.
All right.
You're welcome.
Fantastic questions this morning. Any final questions before we let you all go? All right. Well, appreciate everybody's time this morning. Again, this will be posted on our website, volunteerflorida.org. Should be posted a little later this afternoon. We'll share the PowerPoint and along with a breakdown of how to navigate Blackbaud. Again, if you have any questions at any time, feel free to reach out to rcaf@volunteerflorida.org. Again, my name is John Palmer, the Services Director here with Volunteer Florida. Looking forward to working with you all during this process, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.